we can actually look at university students just as well. And the scenario that we concentrated on specifically is how to really apply this hoteling concept that we had to individual students that are coming to university, where they can actually from home look at availability in the classroom, and then come in if there is room, or stay home and learn remotely if there isn't. So very similarly to what we have done right now with the elementary school, the students of FMU here are actually going to look at those individual rooms that are in fact available. So you can see a whole set of individual lecture rooms. And now there are several ways of looking at the way that we design social distancing by guidelines, right? The first way that we looked at is looking at the actual total square footage of a space and then reducing it. In this case, I'm reducing the space by 50%. But another way of doing that is actually creating a condition, in this case, by going to AutoCAD and actually polylining every individual seat, and then applying the social distancing by geometry or individual circles around the seat. So what you see here is in fact two conditions side by side. The brown ones are permanent classrooms, right? So those are individual classrooms that we are going to just calculate by square footage and basically say, if the guidelines are 6 foot area, which in this case is about 113 square feet, I can actually take this entire square foot divided by that, which brings me a percentage. I can reduce the percentage altogether and see how many students I can fit. And that's going to be my capacity for this classroom. The other way of doing that is like you see here in the desk situation, where I'm actually outlining every individual seat. And then I'm checking whether, if those seats are in fact comply with the social distancing guideline later on. So the first thing we're going to do, right, just like we have done before, is click on every individual classroom in this place and just see the capacity. You just run it and see the capacity behind the scenes. Right, so as I click on those individual classrooms and then go to view or edit selected rooms, it will allow me to, just like I've done before, do several things. In this case, the employee capacity varied, but more importantly for my purposes is notice that there is hotelable tab. I actually signed up as yes, because later on I want to apply the hoteling strategy to that individual school. Right, so that's important for me just to mention right here as we're doing that. Now, notice that different rooms actually have different capacities because different rooms have different areas. So that is the strategy that we're employing here, right? Not all of them are in fact have the same capacity just because some of them are in fact bigger. Now, in the other scenario, we said we actually went and outlined every individual rooms, and the capacity of every one of them is 1. So what we want to look at now, they're all hotelable and will be hotelable, but we actually want to go to every one of them and understand whether they are in fact available by those social distancing guidelines. So we're going to click on the social distancing tab that we developed in this Space Console version, and you can see that the 4 foot radius, which is a little bit more than 6, of course, social distancing just in general, just to prove the point, you can see that all of them are in fact red because those individual circles are intersecting. So what we have done is we clicked on every individual space that we want to now designate as unavailable, because we want to actually create a floor plan, or in this case a classroom, that will give us an occupancy that complies with those guidelines, and goes to the selected rooms or view room tab, see all of those individuals, and click on the one that we selected as do not use. So I actually gave them a new status. Now when I go back to the view, notice that everything, well, first of all, notice that the social circle have completely changed and now they're all green, because the status, and now I'm going to highlight them by status, actually changed, right? So all those brownish color is now designated as do not use versus the green that is still designated as available. So this is something that we have done in the past, but now we're actually applying it to a classroom setting and say we can actually do that as well in the classroom. Of course, the problem with this, especially in elementary school, is how do you make sure that those individual seats remain where they are and will not move during cleaning or during kids that are rearranging and whatnot. You can put tapes on the ground, you can just bolt them to the floor. So there are different ways to in fact do that, but you need to take into account the feasibility of what you're in fact trying to do as well. Now, from there, we can actually go and apply our hoteling application. So in this case, I'm going directly on my phone, finding that building, and then looking anywhere for the classroom that I in fact need to, attend. In this case, it's classroom 3, full day on the 18th, a few days ago. So I'm actually booking something that already passed, but that's okay. It's for the demonstration. And so as I do that, it tells me in this case that there is available space. So now I'm actually booked myself for classroom, which is great. Now, other students are going to come in and do the same thing again, right? The capacity of their room is set to 12. And so as individual students are in fact booking themselves to the classroom, the capacity eventually going to be met. And what you're going to see here is the room completely turned unavailable for them for that individual time, for that individual day. So the next day, if there's a classroom there as well, the room is available again, of course. Now remember, we actually applied also services connected to hoteling. So once that individual room is going to be booked, it will automatically turn as unavailable until services, in this case cleaning services, will actually be performed on it. And once the cleaning services have been completed, then the room will turn available again. So those were connected much more robustly in the last Archibus release and to take advantage of. So whether you're booking a desk, or in this case, whether you're booking an actual classroom, the services and the restriction on availability still applies. Now, another way of doing that is just defining a specific QR code and then just pasting it or taping it outside of the door of the classroom. So in this case, in the defined location under the defined rooms views, you actually go find that individual location or the individual room. You can apply a label if you want to. In this case, make sure you click on the QR for occupancy purposes. Click on that individual room and create a QR code from it. And that QR code, as you can see here, can then be taped or at the door of that individual classroom if needed. Now, the process is quite simple. An individual can come with their phone with a QR reader, as I'm doing here, find that individual classroom, and then go directly to the workplace. All the information about the classroom will automatically be presented to them, and they can book it immediately from their phone as they move forward. So what we've seen here in this sequence is trying to actually take the space that you have, in this case, in a university environment, and breaking down in different strategies, in this case, hoteling strategies, and allowing individuals to actually book their own classroom, knowing that the space that is available to them is limited. Now, what it will allow administrators to do, of course, and you can see it right now, is to look at who is coming and who is going to be in the classroom, because I understand exactly who booked ahead of time. and in this case, controlling in a better way the the cohorts and creating plans and utilization for the future to really understand or plan for the future, I should say, to really understand the way how I adjust my strategies for it to be as safe as possible for my students and my individual teachers or staff or whatnot.